Good morning, everybody. Today is November 9th. You are live with the Retail Doc, and it is a rainy mid-Hudson morning where I am in New York. I hope you're having a good Sunday. I do this once a month, depending on how many comments I get on the day prior. We had 4, so I went back and found another one to roll out our 5. If you have any questions at any point during the broadcast live, you can comment and I will answer them as well. So I hope that you are watching, and if you're watching this recorded, then I hope you will take a moment and let me know what your thoughts are. So if you're joining us live, do me a favor and type in where you're joining from around the world. The clock is telling me it's 9 a.m. A little slow here, I think, today. My exciting news is that next week at this time, I will be winging my way to China. I'm keynoting their International China Retail Conference, which is kind of like the NRF in the US, only for China. And I'm looking forward to seeing what I'm going to learn and the people I'm going to meet, and basically to take my message that it's all about making the customer feel they matter if we're trying to convert more lookers to buyers. So I'll let you know that. I don't know how regular I'll be posting over there because I don't know if Google and all my other, I don't think Facebook and several things don't work when I'm over there. So if I am gone for a little while, you will know that I will be back the following Monday, actually. And I thought I would just start off with a recent blog that I had done, which was all about, hey, good morning, Rose. Well, you know about the buying trip I took in Toronto about a month ago and how disaster it was. And I unpacked that because so many times I think, how do I make this into a learning lesson for my followers? And when I walk into a store, there are 3 switches that switch off when you are a customer, or when they can switch. And the first is you walk into a store, you are curious. Retail exists to answer a customer's main question, which is what's new? And they don't necessarily know what they're after. They're just walking in the door. And a lot of people think, oh, they're going in and looking at merchandise first. No, no, no. What they're looking at first is faces. Do I feel welcome here? What are the people around here doing? Are they on their phones? Are they looking at somebody else? Are they taking active interest in me? That's the first switch. And if once they get that, then they can switch into browsing mode, which is to consider what you have, right? So they might be looking at that sweater or something, and you might see them touching it, or they might be holding it up and looking in a mirror or something. They're starting to consider, I wonder if this could work in my wardrobe. This is kind of interesting. Wonder what that feels like, right? So that's the second switch. And then comes the third switch, which is I think I can see this in my house. Yeah, I think I'm going to try this on. I think this is going to work for me. They're picking up the merchandise actively now, and they are asking questions. And this can happen whether you're with a salesperson or without. The problem is on that third switch, it can switch when you don't treat them well and they don't feel like their money is appreciated or that they're going to get value from it. It can switch from, I see this in my life, to I'm out of here. And that's kind of what I did in that video when I was looking around and I'm trying on this expensive jacket. No one's talking to me. And it dawns on you like, they don't appreciate me here. I'm out. And even though I might have liked that jacket, I might have liked some other things with it. It's over. You've switched that last switch. So here's the key. If you would stop getting your managers to manage tasks and to recognize those 3 switches in a customer, you're going to make more sales. Because somebody who is touching and picking up merchandise is in that second stage. It's really a short distance for them to then go, yeah, this is for me. I want to buy this, right? And so smart managers can see what's going on. Just like, I worked in a coffee house for an awful long time. If you ever heard of It's a Grind Coffee, they're out of Long Beach, California. And we were the coffee that Mary Louise Parker was selling on the show. She was drinking that all the time out of our. Anyway, the reason I share that is because so many times I think we don't realize that the managers are most important. So we would train the managers, hey, your goal is to be up above the fray. I need you to be able to go like, that guy's been waiting too long for his coffee. She's upset. There's something that's going wrong. That table is dirty. They're up here. It's elevation. But for many retail managers, I think we don't do that. We let them work in the store. They're the ones that are ringing up when it's busy. That's the worst, most expensive way you can be using them. They should be up here. And if you're getting ready for the holidays, which of course you are, you have to be thinking about, okay, how are we going to be ready for that? Because there's going to be more people in tighter times. And a lot of you have been kidding yourselves. You can get away with 1 or 2 person coverage, and you're probably losing more out the front door through theft and people who say, well, I'm not welcome here, and people walking out than you'd ever be if you just hired another person. All right. So just understand that. But those 3 switches really will make the difference in your holiday sales. So I hope that makes sense to you. Give me a thumbs up if you like what I have to say. Let me know what you think. Glad you're here, Nance from Southern Pines, and Michael all the way from North Carolina too today. I have a few here, and one last thing. SalesRx, my online retail sales training program, has been nominated for a VIP awards with the National Retail Federation, which is exciting. And their big event is January 9th. I'll find out. But 10% of the score is based on popularity. So I'll be posting something probably a couple times while I'm in China. I'll schedule those up to ask you. You have to register and then just find my logo and you click and you vote once. So you only get 1 vote. That would be very helpful for me. So if you would consider that for me, voting ends November 23rd. All right, so let's get to David. David's question is, what are your thoughts on employees calling in sick on the weekends? I like the way it was sick on the weekends. Well, I don't like it. Do you like it? Who watching here likes it? That was always the case, that everybody's, or the crew decides, let's go out for drinks tonight, and it's a Friday night, and then they've got to work Saturday morning, and someone's like, oh, he was really wasted last night. Well, what are you saying at onboarding? I go the other way around. What do you say at onboarding? Are you expecting people that no matter what the shift, you expect them to show up? Or do you just shrug and go, well, it's so hard to get people, Bob. I just shrug. That's all I can do. At some point, you have to be accountable. So the one thing I would say to you, David, is, are you keeping track of all these sick days? Because a lot of people are using apps now where you can swap out. So one person can jump in, another person can swap their shift for another, but are they the right person for the right time? And so if you aren't keeping track of that, I think there's the doormat role that you may be playing. And I know people say, oh, but Bob, you don't understand. It's so hard to get people. Look, I know it's hard to get people. Okay. I've hired grown men at $2.10 an hour. I know what it's like to have to go through and hire people and say, please, please, please. However, that's the store retail. However, if you aren't going to be willing to hold up any kind of accountability to them, then the rest of your staff is going to learn that it's acceptable to be that way. And even worse, if they're a friend of yours and you can't have that conversation. All right. Susan asked me, oh, this is a long one. So if you are ever curious about onboarding, I'm going to unpack, not onboarding, open to buy. I'm going to unpack it here with you all. There were 2 questions about this today. And if you have any ideas about open to buy, I'm going to run through what I think makes the difference. And then that'll help you. Susan says, I saw, in fact, I have so many notes, I've got to just get over here. I saw where a gal had reduced her on-hand inventory in store and her sales had increased. We work very hard to keep our store neat and not have a swap meet look. How do you know how much inventory is appropriate compared to sales? All right. So I'm going to give an example, and this is out of my book, The Retail Doc's Guide to Growing Your Business. The first thing you want to do is to have an actual inventory of what you have. Now, you can do this by department. You can do this by manufacturer. And of course, the biggie, your whole store. But the reality is, whatever the on-hand value is, including your returns and items on hold, et cetera, at full retail value, let's just say it's a whole store. It's $500,000. Okay. Determine your average monthly sales. So take your last 12-month total sales and divide by 12. Okay, so that's how much you sell in a month. You'll get an average as you sell per month, whatever that's going to be. And then you're going to calculate your merchandise turn. That's the most important. That is your on-hand inventory, right? Divided by your average monthly sales. And that gives you how many months worth of inventory you have. So if we had $500,000, let's just say, in inventory, and you averaged $125,000 you sold a month, that means you have about 4 months worth of inventory on hand. That's kind of low, but in this economy, I think that's probably good. The challenge is if that number of months worth of inventory is too low, that means you are missing sales because you're probably out of things. So then, your goal is to get a merchandise turn of at least 2. So that means if your average monthly sales are 125, your max inventory should be 250,000. So that way you'd get a 2-turn rate. But the key is if you're carrying more inventory, and this is what you were talking about, more inventory than Target. If you're at 500,000 instead of 250,000, your open to buy is zero because all your funds are tied up. And that's the hard part, because I think a lot of times we don't realize it's overbought. I remember I used to have a toy retailer who said, "You don't understand, Bob. We'll sell everything at Christmas." So I was like, I doubt you're going to sell everything at Christmas. You might sell a lot of it at Christmas, but I doubt you're going to sell all of it. By the way, this is helpful. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're out there, or put a Y in the comments. That would even be better. And then afterwards, you could actually share this with your friends. That would be great as well. And I'm sorry, I couldn't make out what your name was. You put this on the comments. What do you think of the idea giving an employee so good a salary that they will perform well so that they won't lose it? Well, that sounds great. But if you're suddenly going to say, hey, I'm going to pay you $30 an hour for a job that was 20, you think they're going to improve their hustle by 50%? I doubt it. They're going to be thankful that you gave them a raise of 50% and probably keep doing what they were doing. Look, if somebody was really able to do the job for you, they would do the job for you, right? If you give them training and you go through and you show them exactly what you want to do, here's the sales framework, here's how we work, great, and they kill it, then great. I'm all about believing in that. But if you think that just giving more money makes you more competitive, I think you're wrong. I think what we're going to see in 2026, and certainly with everything that's going on in AI and people talking about job cuts, et cetera, is you're going to have to prove that you can do it. You're going to have to prove that you add value to every iteration. You know, I'm on a push right now to get more reviews after my speeches, and we got one just the other day. Bob came to our Apple meeting and really re-inspired myself and my team to look at our sales floor and team again. We kind of forgotten, I'm ashamed to say, but this truly reinvigorated my whole team with so many ideas. I can't wait to start putting them into place. And so the question I have for all of you is, what would your customers rave about your salespeople? Oh, we had a problem and John, give my money back. Is that a rave? I don't think that's a rave. A rave would be John took, an extra amount of time. He did this, this, and this. And when the final day came for my nephew to pick up his ring, he gave him 5 tips on the best places to give it and a bottle of champagne to bring to the location, something like that. Oh, that's amazing. I want to work with that guy, right? But you really have to be thinking, what does success look like and what do we value the most? And if you're not sure what you're doing with that, then I think your customers aren't sure, and more importantly, your employees aren't sure either. All right. Last question. Gary, conditions of excess inventory, how and when to close out a season and move on? Well, this is kind of in what we were talking with Susan, but the reality is that Halloween's over. It's November 9th, right? So you've got your Halloween stuff at what, 20% off, 40% off? At this point, it's probably 70% off, and just get it the heck out of there. Oh, but Bob, I can resell it next year after it's been picked over for 6 weeks. Why? The SKUs you can't reorder or anything else. Well, I'm losing money. No, you're going to be losing money by sitting it in the box for 12 months. So merchandise is like milk. It has an expiration date. So know what that date is, plan for it, and then get out of it. And that's, if you're that much afraid of losing money, you probably didn't mark it up enough to begin with. So there you go. If you have any questions now, this is the last I'm at the end. So if you have any questions now, you are able to jump in and tell me. So if you do, great. If not, we will leave it here. We're at 13. We'll try to get to 14 minutes because the algorithm would like that. I would say as we come into this holiday season, there's a lot of uncertainty around. There's a lot of chaos going on. What's going on with SNAP benefits. That's going to affect an awful lot of people. It's going to affect an awful lot of mindsets around that. At the same time, the stock market is booming based on AI. And so you have other shoppers who the sky's the limit. They're feeling comfortable. And just understanding that we have to be cognizant of both of those groups, that as we come into the holidays, there is no certainty to anything, except the NRF still thinks that we're going to get a 3.5 to 4% rise in sales. So I hope we all get that. And more importantly, would you go through and be wanting to believe that? Or are you going to be Bobby Downer and say, no, I've read everything and it's going to be horrible. It'll be a bloodbath. No one will be buying, because we hear that every year. In case you didn't know that, that's one of the first stories we hear the week before Thanksgiving. No one's buying. Everyone's afraid. Customers are looking for big discounts. Here's what I would like. I'm apparently on a rant right now. You're welcome. Here's what I would like. All these surveys always come out. 70% of consumers want more discounts. Oh, what a surprise. Have you done a survey? How many people would like to pay full price? No one. Why do they put out these surveys? Like, that's a real big thing to retailers. They better realize people want discounts. They used to call that painting the lily, like so obvious that why is it even in the conversation? So if you're coming to the holidays selling from your own wallet, or you've done your research from your personality or your channel or your book or whoever who's that contrarian, the sky's gonna fall tomorrow, and you bring that energy into your store, guess what? You win because people can feel it on you. That intention goes out in the world. Your employees get into it. That's why it's so important you're working with your crew to make their day so they'll make the customer's day, because you really can't afford someone with that mindset coming in there and adding water. Someone comes in with this full fire of interest for your product, and you meet one of those people and they're just pouring water on your fire, and you're like, I guess I don't need it. I guess I can settle, right? We don't want to do that. All right. Nobody wants to be a Debbie Downer in retail. Thank you very much, Michael. Exactly. Much less shop with them. All right. So Rose says, would you recommend putting up Christmas displays now? It's going to do it this week. Yeah, I think, the reality is Hermes just put theirs up in London. I think an awful lot of people are doing it. Why? Because people feel better when there's pretty lights and things to take us out of the kryptonite world we're living in. So I am all for that. I'm sure that some of you will be, I'm sure some of you will be mortified that I would suggest putting your Christmas up now, but get over yourself. The reality is that Christmas is going to be a tighter period this year because Thanksgiving is a week later. So last year you had 5 weeks. This year you're going to have 4. So why, in fact, not even 4, because it's the 28th to the 23rd. This year you want to get as much as you possibly can. So that means, put out your best and brightest. And I can't overstate, pretty lights make people feel happy. Pretty lights make people, and the more, the merrier. If you want to just say, oh, well, we have these, I saw this at a coffee house not that long ago, a big brand you would know. And it was just like a Xerox piece of paper that was, with a wreath on it. Happy holidays. Like, could you have done less? I don't think so. So remember, merry is the reason. And I would go all out. I would have garland. I would have lights. I would have little mirrors. I would do whatever I could to make my store look like an enchanted wonderland. You know why? Because people buy the third part of their brain in wonder. If you make them scared, oh my God, am I going to get my money back on this? What? You're down in dinosaur brain. With fear, we do not sell at all. That middle part of the brain, critical parent, is where we decide, is this a good value? Do I feel valued? Is this a good price? All that. But that's not where you want people to be, because that's the mind that's online buying, and it's comparing reviews and it's looking at all this. You want them in wonder. And the easiest way to get somebody in wonder is to have a happy holiday and to go all out. And we'll probably we are going to do the holiday window contest again, but that'll be, I made them too early and you guys pretty much told me so. So I think I'll do it the first week of December this year. That will give you some time to get it ready. All right, Rose. Yes, exactly. Yeah, so there you go. I'm planning on adding a lot more lights this year. That's what I want to hear. All right. Well, again, remember, we're about as successful as we make our minds up to be. Next week, I'm going to be flying off to China. It's only a 26-hour flight from here, and I'll report all the exciting things I'm learning from there as well. Meantime, thanks so much for watching, and have a great rest of your week.